I've now been on social media for over 6 years. I've got 900,000 followers on TikTok, 150,000 subscribers on YouTube, and quite a few followers on Instagram as well. So in today's video, what I want to do is talk to you exactly how to create a personal brand that actually sells your service. Because here's the reality. In the world of AI right now, everybody is starting to sound the same. And that is a big problem because what actually sells to people is your individuality. What makes you different? What makes you unique? Why should somebody buy and listen to you as opposed to somebody else? So what I want to do today is to cover the 4 key V's: the vision, the values, the villains, and the vices. And those are the things that we will discuss in a little bit more detail to make sure that you stand out from everybody else out there who just sounds exactly the same. Okay? So first things first, what we want to do is talk about the vision. Okay? So what do I mean by the vision? The vision means basically the future that you are moving towards. Okay? So basically, this is your vision. This is exactly what you want to accomplish and where you're moving going forward. And people can come in and join you or potentially move away because they don't believe in the exact same vision. So for example, for me right now, when I started, I always thought to myself, hey, I hate working another 9 to 5. I hate having a boss. I hate being told what to do. So what I want to do is basically be all about never having to answer anybody ever again. For 7 years, I was in a recruitment job that I absolutely hated. I went to the recruitment job at 8 o'clock every single day, listened to my manager who I absolutely didn't like, finish at 6, but I could never leave at 6. I had to leave at like 6:30 and then go home and then rinse and repeat that for 7 years straight. That got me into the vision of, hey, there will come a time and a point where I literally do not want to listen to anybody telling me what to do ever again. Now, if you're with me on that vision, then you are with me. If you're not, that is totally fine because a lot of people are more than happy to be employees. But this, what I'm talking about right now, hopefully can kind of give you an idea as to what I stand for and why AI will never be able to replace this. This is why personal branding matters so much. For example, next one is the fact that, for example, my vision is proving that I got no dad, no network, no rich parents or anything like that, can actually build something real. So for those of you that don't know, I've actually come from Lithuania, which is literally a very, very small country in Europe that some people can't even point on the map. We only have 2 million people, and the reality is I was born in a village of 10,000 people. You can do your research. There's no fugazi going on over here, right? And the fact that I'm now in Dubai living my best life, living under my own terms, I'm living proof the fact that you don't have to have a handout. You don't have to have rich parents beforehand in order to make things work. Just through sheer will and power, you can actually have the life that you really want, okay? The next, my vision that people will either join me or fall against is the fact that the life where freedom and income can actually come together. So for example, I'm of the belief that how you make your money is just as important as how much you make, okay? Meaning, if you're, let's say for example, a lawyer making 200K in the city of London and you absolutely hate what you do every single day, no matter what you do, you don't even have the time or the energy to spend the money, then that's not a life worth living. I'm of the mindset that I want to make the money the way I want to make, and I want to enjoy it as well. So I don't sacrifice one for the other, which a lot of people tend to do. They tend to kind of completely deteriorate in terms of their social life and their lifestyle and do whatever they can to make as much money as possible so they can provide for themselves and their family. That is not something that I'm about. And then last but not least is to make sure that I help others as much as I possibly can. So my vision is essentially bringing people the best minds out there, and I want to push them ahead with me. So for example, we've had Cloud, who is from Philippines, that come over here in Dubai, and she's got the best job ever, and she's being paid far more than a usual virtual assistant would. We've got other students and clients as well who are literally have joined my network and have got better. Their lives has gone better as a result of being involved in my circle. That's kind of my vision. Now, the reason why I'm telling you this is because this is an important exercise for you to do, because this is what your personal brand is going to be all about. This is what people will buy into. They do not buy into information anymore. They do not buy into knowledge because they can just do that with ChatGPT and Claude. What they buy into your vision, who you are as a person, and they want to be surrounded by you as an individual. Okay? Next up, so we've spoken about vision. The next one is values, okay? And this is super important. Basically meaning the core beliefs that are unshakable, okay? And this is crazy important because it will either attract some people who've got the exact same values as you and detract people who do not have these values with you. Once again, AI, what values does it have? No, it just depends on the prompt that you provide it, and it will spew with the answer that you really want. So, first of all, what are my values? Number one is that hard work will beat talent every single time. And I have proven live with it, okay? I've lived through 12, 13, 14-hour days working non-stop on my own business. I'm not super smart. I've got C's, D's, E's, and U's in school. In university, I wasn't academically clever whatsoever, and I didn't even speak English that well not that long ago. Whereas now, we've been happy and fortunate to live the life that we live purely through hard work. Next up, I believe that you should only take advice from people who have been there and done that. There is no point of taking business advice from a professor who has never ran a business. It's like there's no point of learning how to drive by reading a book. There is no way you're going to get muscles or get into the best shape of your life by just watching videos on YouTube. You actually have to go out there, do the work, and listen to people who have been there and done that. It's kind of like going to the gym and picking up the personal trainer who seems to be more out of shape than you are. It doesn't make any sense, at least in my opinion. Next up, I am a firm believer that the market does not care how you feel, what you think, or what you've done. All they care about is that do you provide value to the marketplace, yes or no? So if a task takes 30 minutes or the same task takes 10 hours, nobody cares. What they care about is whether or not you got it done and if it provides meaningful value to the marketplace. So that means there is no such point of you complaining of how hard you're working and how nothing was working out and so on and so forth. Nobody cares. All they care about is what value do you provide and how much you should be rewarded for that value. And then last but not least, in my personal opinion, I'm a big believer of action over thinking. Yes, you will make mistakes. Yes, you will have problems. Yes, there will be things that are not going to work out and they will be painful. But I'd much rather take action and learn each and every single time as opposed to think, overthink, plan again, and plan again. That doesn't move the needle, okay? You learn so much faster by actually taking aggressive, messy action. And as people like to call it, let's fuck around and find out exactly what are you going to do in order to move going forward. Then the next one, and this is a big one, okay? And that is villains. Think about it. Why did Andrew Tate blow up? Is because he had the Matrix and he was pushing against the Matrix all the time. Why is Trump the biggest personal brand in the world out right now? Because he pushes against the Democrats. He pushes against the rest of the world. He's got enemies left, right, and center. Even smaller people like Simon Squibb. He speaks about the education system and his enemy being there. Every single personal brand that you are listening to and you're aware of is because they have a common enemy. And if you have that common enemy, you will be naturally drawn towards that person because you're fighting against somebody in common. Okay, so for example, my common enemy is really simple. It's the victim mentality. I hate when people are sorry for themselves. I hate when people blame others for their own misfortune. At the end of the day, I'm a living proof that you can do whatever you want to do if you just put your mind to it. And therefore, if I can do it, I'm a firm believer that everybody else can do it. If you believe that, great, we're on the same page. If you don't, that's not a problem. You will not be listening to my content and that's totally fine. So what I love about having a clear villain is people will either like you or don't like you, but at least they will remember you and at least they will know exactly where they stand with you, okay? Number two is fake gurus teaching businesses and they've never ran a business before. So when I was doing Amazon FBA and I started doing Amazon FBA coaching, I made sure that I reached at least 500,000 in sales before I started doing coaching. My problem was the fact that there were so many of these fake gurus that were trend jumping from one to another and they never ran a business themselves. So for example, in 2016, there was dropshipping. In 2018, there was Amazon FBA. In 2019, I think it was NFTs and then cryptos and on all of these things and now AI. Everybody just jumps from one trend onto another without actually having got the experience of doing the actual work itself. So therefore, you've got to be really careful as to who you listen to. And then last but not least is the universities, okay? The universities is a big one for me because at the end of the day, I have gone to university because my parents have forced me to it. for 3 years. I spent £9,000 each and every single year, meaning that I was in debt for 27 years. And at the end of those 3 years, I've learned absolutely nothing of value. Nothing that I'm using today was learned at university. Everything that I've learned was either through YouTube, internet, mentors, or courses. So I'm a firm believer that yes, education is super important, but it's not going to come from schools or universities, because all they do is they teach you just how to become a good employee and a good worker, and basically how to do as you're told. If that's what you want to do, great. But if that's the villain that you are up against, then you're going to be in my camp, okay? So we've spoken about values, we've spoken about villains, and we've spoken about vision. But there is one more, and that is kind of like the secret sauce. And this one is the quirks, okay? What do we mean by that? It's the things that make you human. It's the things that make you not AI. It's the things that make you different to everybody else. For example, when I speak to people and I ask, okay, when you think about me, what is the first couple of things that come to your mind? Do you think they think, oh yeah, online business, how to sell coaching, how to get a few clients? No, absolutely not. You know what they say? Cheesecake. The next thing they'll say is doing steps. The next thing they say, stay in shape. The next day say is, being obsessed about food. Those are the sort of human things that we can all relate to that have got nothing to do with the business itself. It's what makes you memorable, okay? And this is super, super important, because whenever we start selling on social media, or we're just speaking, we just continuously do the same thing over and over again when we're not really known for anything else. So therefore, the vices, the quirks, is something that's really important, because you're kind of unapologetically yourself. You don't apologize for who you are, no matter what it is that you do. Like for example, one of the things that I like to do is play video games to relax. That is something that I'm not going to apologize for. Now, a lot of people may think it's weird, it's stupid, it's something that children do, but it helps me. And therefore, I'm going to be unapologetic about it because it helps me. And therefore, these are the sort of things, once again, that makes me different to everybody else. Because here's the reality. With AI coming out in 2026 and everybody starting to use ChatGPT and Claude, the only people that are going to survive are those that have a unique, great, long-standing personal brand. And if you don't get on this in the next 12 to 24 months, you will be forgotten, or you will just be in the sea of all the other creators who sound exactly the same time and time again. So make sure to draw out your own plan of what your vision, values, villains, and vices are, and then stick to those. Remember them every single time you post a piece of content, because that's how people will be able to relate to you and eventually buy from you. So with that being said, thank you so much for watching, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye-bye.